Hello again, my friends. Welcome back to Fluent English with Radio, where we learn English through helpful and interesting topics. So, before we start, let's walk through a few situations. You say no to other plans because your friend wants to hang out. Then, just as you're about to leave, your phone lights up. Sorry, something came up. A coworker asks you to quickly help with something after hours. You answer right away, but later, when you ask them for a favor during work hours, they leave you on scene. If this is the story of your life and you want it to stop, this episode is for you. You are undervalued not because you lack talent, but because you are always available. Here is the truth. The more accessible you are, the faster you answer. The more you say yes, the lower your value drops. And the worst thing is, you do not even realize it is happening. Think about it. The employee who never says no gets piled with extra work. The person who replies instantly gets treated like a 24/7 customer service line. People confuse your kindness with a lack of boundaries. Here is what most people do not understand. Being always available is not being kind. It is a lack of boundaries, and people will treat you exactly the way you price yourself. When you are always there, you become cheap. When you are always ready to help, you become expected. When you never say no, your yes loses all meaning. So, what happens when you stop being available? What changes when you finally set boundaries and protect your time? That is exactly what we are going to talk about today. If you want to know why controlling your availability increases your value and what will happen when you do it, stick with me until the end. Are you ready to stop being taken for granted and start being valued? Let's get started. Why we should stop being available. Do you remember the law of supply and demand? When something is everywhere, it becomes cheap. When something is rare, it becomes valuable. You might be wondering, what does this have to do with me? This law applies to people and relationships too. When you are constantly available, always ready to help, always saying yes, you are discounting yourself. And people treat discount items very differently from how they treat luxury goods. Let's take a look at this scenario. Imagine two restaurants. One is always empty. You can walk in any time without a reservation. The other has a 3-month waiting list. Which one do you think people want to try more? Of course, it's the one that is hard to get. The same principle applies to you. Now here is the painful part. Most of us were taught the wrong lessons growing up. We learned that being a good person means being available 24/7, picking up every call, replying to every message immediately, never saying no. But that is not kindness. That is a lack of boundaries. Kindness means you help when you can, when it makes sense, and when it does not harm you. Boundaries mean you protect your time, your energy, and your mental health first. Here is what nobody tells you. People will treat you the way you show them to. If you answer their calls at 2 a.m., they will keep calling at 2 a.m. If you drop everything to help them, they will expect it every time. If you never say no, They will keep taking until there is nothing left. Now, let me be very clear about something important. Your availability is not your worth. You are not more valuable because you reply faster. You are not a better friend because you cancel your plans for someone who would never do the same. You are not a better employee because you work weekends while everyone else rests. What you are actually doing is giving yourself away for free. And people do not value what they get for free. But when you stop handing out your time like discount goods, something incredible happens. People learn that your time has value. They learn that your energy is limited. They learn that if they want your attention, they need to earn it. This is not about being mean or cold. This is about having self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. So the question is not whether you should stop being overly available. The question is, what changes when you finally do? Let me show you 10 things that change when you take yourself off the discount rack and become a valued good. Before we move on, think of one person who treats you like you're on sale. Hold that thought, because the next part explains what happens when you stop allowing it. 10 things that happen when you stop being available. 1. The trash takes itself out. Okay, so you start setting boundaries. You stop answering every call. You stop saying yes to everything. And some people get angry. They complain. They say you changed. They call you selfish. Then they leave. Here is what is really happening. These people never valued you as a person. They valued what you could do for them. Your time, your help, your attention. The moment you stop giving those things away for free, they have no reason to stay. You are not losing friends. You are losing burdens. The trash takes itself out. And here's the best part. You don't even lift a finger. They remove themselves. No awkward confrontation. No difficult conversation. They just go. Take Maria, a nurse who works night shifts. Her neighbor would text her during the day asking her to pick up packages, watch her kids for just an hour, or help with errands. The neighbor knew Maria was home during the day. What did the neighbor not care about? Maria needed to sleep during the day because she worked 12-hour shifts at night. When Maria finally said, "I cannot help anymore, I need to sleep," the neighbor got angry, stopped saying hello in the hallway, complained to other neighbors that Maria was selfish. Maria felt guilty at first. She was so used to feeling bad for putting herself first. But friends, remember that guilt is just an emotion, not a fact. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. Maria realized this too, which led to her next realization. That neighbor was never her friend. She was just someone using her. Maria didn't need that kind of person in her life. She was happy to let that neighbor go. And now Maria actually gets the sleep she needs. Her work performance improved. Her mood got better. She stopped getting sick all the time. All because she stopped letting someone steal her recovery time. Or think about James, an accountant who always helped his coworker fix Excel problems. Every day, multiple times. The coworker would walk over and say, Can you just quickly help me with this formula? When James started saying, I am on a deadline, you should take that Excel training course HR offers, the coworker got offended, started making comments about how James was not a team player anymore. But you know what? James finally finished his own work on time, got a promotion 6 months later, and that coworker, still struggling with the same Excel problems, just bothering someone else now. Here's what James learned. Helping people who refuse to help themselves isn't kindness. It's enabling, and that hurts both parties in the long run. Now, I hope you get the idea. When you set boundaries, the wrong people remove themselves. And that is not a loss. That is a gift. 2. People respect your time. You know how some people used to cancel on you at the last minute? Or show up 30 minutes late because they knew you would wait. Watch what happens when you stop accepting that. You just taught people a new lesson. Before, your time was free and flexible. They learned they could waste it without consequences. Most people aren't trying to disrespect you. They're just responding to the standards you set. If you accept late cancellations, they'll keep doing it. Not because they're bad people, but because you taught them it's okay. But the moment you start valuing your own time, something shifts. People rise or fall to your standards, and most, or at least valuable ones, will rise. Let's take a look at David. His friends would make dinner plans, then cancel an hour before. Sorry, too tired. They knew David would understand. When David started saying, I already turned down other plans for this. If you cancel with less than a day's notice, I am not rescheduling. His friends changed their behavior. They started actually showing up. Or they would give real notice when they needed to cancel. At first, David worried he was being too harsh, but then he realized something. His real friends didn't push back. They actually apologized and admitted they'd been taking advantage. The ones who got defensive, they were the problem all along. His social life got better because people treated his time like it actually mattered. Or think about Sarah, who teaches 3rd grade. Her principal would schedule quick meetings with 5 minutes notice. Sarah would drop everything, rush to the office, and wait 20 minutes while the principal finished other things. When Sarah started saying, I have students right now, can we schedule this for my planning period at 2 p.m.? The principal was surprised at first, but then something changed. The principal started actually scheduling meetings, came prepared, respected Sarah's time. The meetings became shorter and more productive, and Sarah stopped feeling like her entire day was at someone else's mercy. Sarah was nervous about standing up to her boss. She thought it might hurt her career, but the opposite happened. The principal started seeing her as a professional with boundaries, not just someone who would drop everything. Her performance reviews actually improved. So, remember that when you show people your time is valuable, they treat it like it is valuable. You set the standard, and they follow. 3. You become more attractive. This sounds weird, but stay with me. Stop being available all the time and you will become more attractive. Not physically, I mean socially. You'll become more interesting. How does that happen? Think about how humans work. We want what we cannot easily have. It's not manipulation, it's psychology. The same reason limited edition items sell out. The same reason exclusive events feel special. Scarcity creates value. When you are always there, always posting everything, always free to hang out, there is no mystery, no curiosity. But become selective with your time and attention. You create a gap, and people naturally want to fill that gap. They start wondering about you. Take Linda, who used to post everything on Instagram, what she ate for lunch, every coffee, every thought. Her friends and co-workers saw her entire life online. When she stopped posting so much, something weird happened. People around her started asking more questions. What did you do this weekend? Or, haven't seen you post in a while, everything okay? They seemed genuinely curious. Before, they never asked because they already knew everything. Linda did not change. She just stopped sharing everything. And suddenly, people found her more interesting. Or think about Marcus, a guy who used to accept every happy hour invitation, every team lunch, every weekend golf outing. He was always there. He never said no because he was afraid of offending people. He showed up too often that his existence was taken for granted. Nobody bothered glaring at him because they knew he would always be there. That only stopped when Marcus became more picky. When he started picking and choosing, only going to events he actually wanted to attend, people's reactions changed. When he did show up, people would say, "Oh, you made it. Great to see you." His presence became something people noticed and appreciated, not just expected. So, friends, keep in mind that the less available you are, the more people want your attention. You become someone worth wondering about. Before we continue, let's take a short break. Relax your body and mind. Take a deep breath, do a few stretches, or drink some water. When you're ready, press play. I'll be right here. 4. Your words carry weight. Have you ever noticed how the person who talks all the time gets ignored? But the person who barely speaks? Everyone listens when they finally say something. There is a simple principle at play here. Attention is limited. When you are constantly sharing opinions and constantly available with your thoughts, people stop paying attention. Your words become noise. But speak rarely. Be selective about what you say. Scarcity kicks in. People pay attention because they know this is rare. Think about it like this. If a friend texts you every hour with random thoughts, you stop reading them carefully. But if that same friend only texts when they have something important to say, you pay attention. Same person, different approach, different result. Let me give you some examples. Tom is an insurance agent who used to send his clients long emails about every little update. Market changes, policy options, industry news. Just email after email. His clients would skim them or ignore them completely. When he started only emailing about things that directly affected their policies, his open rate went up. Clients started responding. They even started asking him questions again. Tom was worried at first that staying quiet would make clients forget about him. But the opposite happened. When he did reach out, clients actually read the message because they knew it mattered. Or take a look at Jennifer, who works in HR at a manufacturing company. She used to speak up in every meeting, every topic, every discussion. She thought it showed she was engaged. But she noticed people would look at their phones when she talked. They would interrupt her. Her ideas never got implemented. When she started speaking only when she had something truly important to say, everything changed. Now, when Jennifer talks, the room goes quiet. People lean in. They take notes. Last month, her suggestion about the vacation policy got approved immediately. Jennifer didn't become smarter or more knowledgeable. She just became more strategic about when to speak, and that strategy made all the difference. You see, when your words are rare, they become precious. Quality over quantity makes people actually listen. 5. Energy returns to you. This might be the biggest change. You know that feeling of being exhausted even though you did not do anything physically hard. That exhaustion comes from being emotionally available to everyone all the time. Every complaint you listen to, every problem you help solve, every emotional burden you carry for someone else takes energy from you. And here's what most people don't realize. Emotional energy is a real, limited resource. Just like physical energy. You can't pour from an empty cup, but somehow we're all walking around with our cups bone dry, wondering why we feel terrible. And if you are always giving but never receiving, you run empty. Set boundaries. That energy stops flowing out. It stays with you. Rachel works as a customer service rep for a phone company. 8 hours a day, she deals with angry customers. Then she would get home, and her sister would call to complain about her marriage. Her friend would text about work drama. Her mom would call about family gossip. Rachel was emotionally empty, too tired to cook, too tired to go to the gym, too tired to do anything except scroll on her phone and go to bed. When she started telling people, "I just got off work and I am drained. Can we talk this weekend when I have energy?" Everything changed. Her sister was upset at first, saying Rachel didn't care about her problems. But Rachel explained, "I do care, but if I listen when I'm this drained, I can't actually help you. I'm just a wall you're talking at. Let me recharge, and I'll give you real attention this weekend." Suddenly, she had evenings to herself. Started cooking again, started going to yoga twice a week. She felt like a person again, not just a complaint box. Or think about Kevin, a high school teacher who was the go-to person for everyone's problems. Other teachers would vent to him during lunch. Students would cry in his classroom after school. Parents would email him about things that were not even school-related. He was exhausted all the time, stopped reading, which he loved, stopped playing guitar, just work, listen to problems, sleep, repeat. When he started setting office hours and saying, "I need to protect my lunch break," people were shocked at first. But Kevin used that time to actually eat, to read, to decompress. 6 months later, he started a side business teaching guitar lessons online, something he never had energy for before. Kevin told me he actually became a better teacher because he wasn't burned out anymore. The irony? By becoming less available, he had more to give when he was available. When you stop being a free resource for everyone, your energy flows back into your own life, and that changes everything. 6. You stop resenting others. Here is something nobody talks about. When you are always available, always helping, always saying yes, resentment builds up inside you. You help someone move, they never help you back. You listen to their problems for hours, they never ask about yours. You cover their shift, they never return the favor, and slowly, quietly, you start to hate them. Not because they are bad people, but because you keep giving and they keep taking. The problem is not them. The problem is you never set boundaries. When you stop helping everyone all the time, something amazing happens. The resentment disappears. You stop expecting people to read your mind. You stop hoping they will suddenly become as generous as you. You stop keeping score because you are not overgiving anymore. Take Jason, a warehouse supervisor. He would always cover shifts for his co-workers, weekends, holidays, whenever someone called in sick. He thought that was what good co-workers do, but nobody ever covered for him. When Jason needed a day off for his daughter's recital, everyone suddenly had excuses. He started feeling bitter, started disliking people he used to consider friends. Finally, he decided to put an end to this situation. When he stopped saying yes to every shift request, the reactions were immediate. Some got mad, some ignored him, some even complained to the manager, saying Jason was not being a team player anymore. Jason didn't care because he no longer felt angry. The resentment melted away. He stopped feeling used because he stopped putting himself in situations where he could be used. He only helped when it truly worked for him. Or think about Angela, a hairdresser who always squeezed in last-minute appointments. Clients would call, saying it was an emergency. She would stay late, skip lunch, and rearrange her whole schedule. These same clients would cancel on her without notice, would show up late, would complain about prices. Angela started dreading certain names on her calendar. When Angela started enforcing her 24-hour cancellation policy and stopped taking same-day emergencies, some clients pushed back hard. One client said, "But you always fit me in before. What changed?" Another left a bad review online, saying Angela was not customer-friendly anymore. One even tried calling multiple times in one day, hoping she would cave. But Angela held firm. She only saw clients who respected her time. The resentment vanished. She started loving her job again. and the angry clients. They either adjusted or found someone else. Either way, Angela won. The lesson is clear. When you stop overgiving, you stop expecting things in return. Your relationships become lighter, more honest, more balanced. You are not keeping track of who owes you what because you are not giving more than you can afford to lose. When was the last time you felt resentment toward someone? What led to it? Share your story in the comment section below and see how many people relate. 7. You attract high-value people. Now here is where things get really interesting. When you start setting boundaries and valuing your own time, you attract a completely different type of person. Successful people, people who have their lives together, people with self-respect, they do not want to be around people pleasers. They want to be around people who also have boundaries, because boundaries signal self-respect, and self-respect is attractive. Think about it. People who respect themselves want friends who also respect themselves. They want business partners who value their own time. They want relationships with people who know their worth. When you stop being available to everyone, the people who respect that will move closer, and those are exactly the people you want in your life. Meet Patricia, a physical therapist who used to say yes to every networking event, every coffee meeting, every pick-your-brain request. She was exhausted, and her network was full of people who just wanted free advice. When Patricia started being selective, only meeting people who brought real value to the conversation, something shifted. Some people sent messages like, "Hey, can we still meet? I really need your advice on something." When she said she was focusing on fewer, more meaningful connections, one person replied, "I totally understand. I respect that." That person? A doctor who later referred high-paying clients to her. She also connected with a gym owner who said, "I love that you value your time. Let's actually do something together." They became business partners. These people would never have approached the old Patricia, the one who was always available and always free. They were looking for someone who valued herself, and that is who Patricia became. Or think about Mike, a truck driver who used to hang out with guys who always needed something, a ride, money, a place to crash. He was the reliable one, the one everyone called when they needed help. When Mike started saying no and spending time on his own hobbies, the old crew had things to say. One guy texted, "Man, what happened to you? You used to be cool." Another said, "I guess you're too good for us now." They stopped calling, stopped inviting him to places. But Mike joined a classic car restoration group. There, he met people who had their own trucks, their own money, their own lives. One guy said, "You seem like you have your stuff together. Want to grab lunch and talk about the business?" These guys invited him to rallies, introduced him to better job opportunities, respected his time. One of them even helped Mike start his own small freight business. These high-value connections would never have happened if Mike were still being everyone's free help hotline. When you respect yourself, you become magnetic to others who do the same. You upgrade your entire circle, not by pushing people away, but by attracting better people toward you. 8. You control the narrative. This is a big one. For most of your life, you have been reacting. Someone calls, you answer. Someone asks, you help. Someone needs you, you drop everything. You have been a supporting character in everyone else's story. But when you stop being always available, you become the main character in your own life. You take control. You answer texts when you are ready, not when the phone buzzes. You make plans based on what you want, not based on who invited you. You spend your time how you choose, not how others expect. This is what real control feels like. Take Brian, whose entire life revolves around other people's needs. His mother wanted him to visit every Sunday. His friends expected him at every game night. His girlfriend needed him to be available every evening. Brian never had time for himself, never went to the gym, never worked on his photography hobby, never just relaxed. He was always on someone else's schedule. When Brian started blocking out time for himself, non-negotiable time, the reactions came fast. His mother called and said, "So I'm not important anymore? You can't even visit your own mother?" His friends sent group texts like, "Brian's too busy for us now, I guess." His girlfriend said, "You're being really selfish lately. Relationships take effort." But Brian held firm. Sundays became his gym and photography days. He would visit his mother on Saturdays instead. Game nights became twice a month, not every week. Evenings with his girlfriend were planned, not automatic. At first, there was pushback. Then something amazing happened. His mother adjusted and started enjoying their Saturday visits more. His friends stopped guilt-tripping him and valued his presence when he did show up. His girlfriend either adapted or they were not compatible anyway. Brian felt like he was driving his own life for the first time in years. Or think about Michelle, a dental hygienist whose coworkers always dictated the lunch schedule, the break rotation, the shift swaps. She just went along with whatever everyone else wanted. When Michelle started speaking up about what worked for her schedule, when she started saying, "Actually, I need lunch at noon because I have a workout class," some coworkers rolled their eyes. One said, "We all have things to do, Michelle. You're not special." Another made passive-aggressive comments like, "Must be nice to have a gym schedule more important than helping the team." But Michelle kept at it, started making decisions about her own time, started choosing which extra shifts to take based on her goals, not based on who asked nicest. Eventually, people stopped pushing back. They realized she was serious. Some even started setting their own boundaries too. Never forget this, friends. When you control your availability, you control your life. You stop being reactive and start being intentional, and that shift changes everything. 9. Meaningful connections. Deepen. Here is something beautiful that happens. When you stop spreading yourself thin across dozens of shallow relationships, you finally have time and energy for the people who truly matter. You stop trying to be friends with everyone. You stop attending every social event. You stop maintaining relationships that do not feed your soul. And what is left? The real ones. the deep ones. Quality over quantity. Less breadth, more depth. Your relationships with family, your close friends, the people who genuinely care about you, those relationships become richer, stronger, more meaningful. Think about Nicole, an elementary school counselor who used to attend every coworker's birthday party, every happy hour, every weekend gathering. She was friendly with 30 people, but close to no one. When Nicole stopped saying yes to everything, some coworkers noticed. One person posted in the group chat, "Nicole's too good for us now, apparently." Someone even asked if she was mad at everyone. But Nicole used that time for her two best friends and her sister. Real time. Not rushed coffee between appointments. Not distracted by conversations while checking her phone. She started having long dinners with her best friend. Started taking weekend trips with her sister. These relationships deepened in ways they never could when Nicole was too busy being everyone's casual friend. Her best friend told her, "I feel like I finally have you back." That is what happens when you stop being everywhere and start being somewhere that matters. Or think about Carlos, a construction foreman who used to grab beers with different crew members every week. Surface-level friendships, talking about sports and complaining about work. Fun, but empty. When Carlos started being more selective with his time, some guys on the crew had opinions. One said, "What, you don't drink with us anymore? Too good for the crew?" They stopped inviting him after a while. But Carlos focused on his relationship with his teenage son, started taking him fishing on Saturdays, teaching him to work on cars, actually being present instead of always being somewhere else. His son opened up to him in ways he never had before. They became close, really close. His son even said, "Dad, I like that you're around more now." Carlos realized he had been so busy being available to everyone that he was unavailable to the person who mattered most. Remember that when you protect your time, you can invest it in relationships that actually matter. And those relationships become the foundation of a truly good life. 10. You finally meet yourself. Personally, I think this is the most important one. When you stop being busy making everyone else happy, when you stop filling every moment with other people's needs, you finally have something you have been missing for years. Silence, space, time alone with your own thoughts. And in that space, you meet yourself, maybe for the first time in a long time. You remember what you actually like, not what others expect you to like. You discover what you want, not what you have been told to want. You figure out who you are when you are not performing for anyone else. This is where real change begins. This is where you find yourself again. Meet Derek, a paramedic who was always go, go, go. When he was not working 12-hour shifts, he was hanging out with friends, helping family, and being busy. One day, he decided to stop that life. He started going for walks alone and thinking about his life instead of just living it on autopilot. He started going for walks alone, started sitting on his porch with coffee in the morning, started thinking about his life instead of just living it on autopilot. He realized he did not even like being a paramedic anymore. He had been doing it for 10 years because everyone expected it. In that quiet space, he found the peace that he thought had been long lost. Or think about Teresa, an office manager who was always surrounded by people, always accommodating everyone's needs, always making sure everyone else was happy. She never asked herself if she was happy. When Teresa started protecting her time, she started having quiet mornings before work and quiet evenings after. Her co-workers noticed. One said, "You used to be so fun, now you're always rushing home." Her boss even asked if everything was okay at home, assuming something was wrong. But Teresa finally heard her own voice again. She started journaling, started thinking about what she actually wanted from life. She realized she had been living a life designed by everyone else's expectations. In that quiet space, she discovered she wanted to move to a smaller town, wanted a simpler life, wanted to write. When she gave her notice, her boss said, "You're making a huge mistake. You'll regret this." Her mother cried and said, "Why would you leave a good job?" But Teresa did it anyway, left the city, started writing her first novel, and for the first time in her life, she felt free. I'm not saying you should drop school or leave your job. What I want to say is you should make time for yourself. Your name should always be at the top of your list. When you stop being available to everyone else, you finally become available to yourself. And that is when you truly start living. So, let me ask you something. What would happen if you disappeared? Not literally, but what if you stopped being so available? What if you turned off notifications? What if you said no to plans that drain you? What if you protected your time like it actually mattered? I know what you are thinking. You are scared. Scared people will get mad. Scared they will think you changed. Scared they will leave. And you know what? Some will. But those are exactly the people who need to go. The ones staying will respect your boundaries. And in case nobody has ever told you, real relationships survive boundaries. So here is my challenge for you. Try it for 30 days. Stop answering every text immediately. Stop saying yes to everything. Stop giving your time away for free. Stop being everyone's backup plan. And soon, you'll feel free again. When you stop being cheap, you become valuable. When you stop being available, you become wanted. When you stop being for everyone, you become everything to the right people. Your time is yours. Your energy is yours. Your life is yours. Stop giving it away. Start living it. If this episode spoke to you, like and share it with people you care about. Subscribe to stay updated and take a look at our other videos. Thanks for listening. See you next time on Fluent English with Readio.